All right, shalom, shalom. First off, give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakadash, giving double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS whom called me this truth. Salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring in truth and sincerity, all the men and women who follow. This is the brother Kratazah from the Town of Living Waters coming back at you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Shai. This lesson being entitled Fall in Love with the Struggle. Alright, I have a picture here. You see, if anybody's familiar with Dragon Ball Z, you know, Goku, the main character, he always um, gets the power up. You know, he hits the next level is seemingly pretty easily or is given unto him, but Vegeta always has to work for it. Now Vegeta is on the same level as Goku, but Vegeta puts in the work to get there. So this is a depiction of that. You know, you can't really see it, but there's a finish line here, and what it's saying is, you know, Goku could jump the hurdle, or he could go around it. You know, he could, you know, but he's gonna get to the finish line pretty easily. You know, Vegeta's gonna have to get around the barbed wire and the moat with the crocodile and get past the broken wall, break through the wall, go through the spears in the ground. He has to go through hell, you know, in order to get to the finish line. And that's our journey. You know, we're gonna have to quite literally go through hell. Not speaking about the nether region where Satan dwells or whatever these wacky tacky Christians call it, talking about a condition, you know, the Jacob's trouble, you know, the end of this place, hell, right now, you know, we're going through hell, so to speak. But you know, the point is in this lesson, you know, Lord's word is edifying, you know, to fall in love with the struggle, fall in love with having to go through these hurdles, because it's the ultimately the Lord testing you, and it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to work on yourself, to prove yourself to the Most High, and to eschew Satan. Because Satan's going to do his job. Satan's going to want to get in your mind, all right, and throw you off. Satan's going to affect your life in ways that test you, poke at you, prod at you, you know, try to move you off your square. But if you got foundation in Yahweh Shem Yahushai, then you won't be moved. But we're not asking, you know, matter of fact, how does that scripture go? Bear with me here. Bear with me. I know it's a Bruce Lee quote, but dang, I'm pretty sure I thought of the scripture as well. Okay, maybe not. So I'll pull up this. We'll drag it over. It says, "Do not pray for an easy life, but pray for the strength to endure a difficult one." And that's really what we have to do. Because this life's not going to be easy for us. This truth not going to be easy for us. We give up our lives. You know, a lot of brothers in their intro say, they'll tell you risking their freedom now more than ever. You know, some of us have to forsake family, friends, jobs, opportunities. We lay down a lot for this truth, right? Of course, to get the ultimate goal, which is salvation. But in the meantime, between time, there's hurdles that we got to get over. You know, the Lord is, of course, He's gonna protect His own, and let's get that real quick. Bible shot, bear with me, because I got some scriptures here, but you know, when you start getting into the lesson, more scriptures just start running through your head. Um, all right. This is 1 Corinthians 10 and 13. It says, "There have no temptation taking you, but such as common to man. But the Most High is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it." So yeah, the Lord gonna put you through some things, but He's gonna give you an out. He's not gonna just leave you high and dry, so to speak. All right, and that goes into um, what I wanted to speak about, falling in love with the struggle. Now, this is from the AI overview. It says falling in love with the struggle means embracing the challenges and hardships in life as opportunities for growth and personal development rather than viewing them as obstacles to be avoided, right? So, I mean, we have to hit these things head on. And I'm talking to me as much as I'm talking to you brothers out there in the truth. If there's something that you're struggling with, if there's an issue that you have to be proactive with it. You have to hit it head on. You can't hide behind it. You can't try to sugarcoat it or mask it. It's just gonna grow bigger and bigger and bigger. Matter of fact, I was watching a comedy show with the comedian Bill Burr, and he was speaking about all these old feelings that he was like kind of shoving in. He didn't want to express it, but he could feel it kind of like creeping up every now and then. He would you know fill his life with things to keep him busy so that he didn't have to address these feelings, you know. But he had took a break for a couple of weeks, and it got to him, and it overwhelmed him, and he fell into a depression, and that happens to us as men. Is difficult for us to express ourselves, one way or the other. Which of course, it's good to have someone that you can speak with, Lord's will, you have someone that you trust that you can confide in. That makes all the difference in the world. I can speak from experience. Having someone that you can be honest with, that you can shoot off the hip with, and just and be able to express yourself. Don't do it to your woman. Do not I repeat, do not express these feelings with a woman, if it's more likely a brother, you know, that'll, because a woman, if they'll see it as weakness. You know, it'll be the beginning of the end for you, but that's another story. Um, but yeah, man, just use these difficult times as an opportunity for growth and personal development. All right, it's not something that should be avoided. Going back to what I was saying, you don't want to avoid it because it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's going to be even more of a problem for you down the line when you could have just dealt with it, years ago and be good. But now you got a fucking 600-pound gorilla on your back. When you could have just took care of it when it was the 30-year-old chimpanzee, a 30-pound chimpanzee. Now you got a full silverback, at your back. But it says it's about developing a mindset. Fuck you. It's about developing a mindset where you appreciate the journey even when it's difficult, recognizing that struggles can lead to resilience, strength, and ultimately a more fulfilling life. So as we go through Babylon, you know, we gotta deal with out of order women. We gotta go to work, deal with stupid co-workers or your boss, pay your bills. We just gotta. We're It's us against the world, literally. But if you look at it like, yes, us against the world, but me against these bills, you know, this is an opportunity of growth. If I can be disciplined with my spending, these bills are nothing. And it's also going to allow me to be able to take that discipline and apply it to other areas of my life. That's what falling in love with the struggle is. Knowing, like, looking at it, like, hey, look, man, I know I'm facing, 5 or 6 things I got to do this week. These are all opportunities. You know, I know I'm gonna deal with this asshole at work. Hey, that's an opportunity. I know, um, I paid all my bills, but I'm kind of short on money. What can I do? All right, I can walk to the store today, opposed to driving to. There's so many different things that you can do. But just look at these things as an opportunity, man. An opportunity to serve the Lord, and that's just like in like the daily life. Not even speaking about temptation, because you know, like women, you know, um, money, you know, whatever floats your boat. Because brothers are into different things or are tempted by different things. Should I say not really into different things, but are tempted by different things. So when temptation creeps upon you, all right, when Satan get to whispering in your ear, that's an opportunity. That's so. We'll go back to the page. When Satan start whispering in your ear, that's an opportunity. When Big Booty Judy, hit the corner, but she got a man, that's an opportunity. You know, when it's time to do your lesson, hey, that's an opportunity. And it's an opportunity to prove ourselves that we're worthy of this gospel, that we're worthy to put the Lord Yahweh Shem Yashai on our back. And the Lord knows that He's not expecting you to go 1,000 for 1,000. You're gonna lose some battles. We're human, but you got to keep fighting. A righteous man fall down 7 times and get back up 7. You can't allow Satan's mental gymnastics to get to you, because he's gonna play those mind games with you. He's gonna tell you that you're not a man of the Lord. Right? He's gonna, you know, try to drive a wedge between you and somebody that you love. Satan's going to do all these things. That's his job. But it's an opportunity. Um, yeah, you can screenshot this if you would like, you know what I'm saying? But I want to get to these precepts I got. This is Romans 5 and 3 through 5. I'm going to read it in the NLT. All right, I just like the NLT version for this verse. It says, "We can rejoice." Matter of fact, I'll read the KJV real quick. This is Romans 5 and 3. It says, "And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope, and hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of the Most High is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Spirit, which is given unto us." Right. So let's read it in the NLT. It says, "We can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance." Right. So when we run into problems, when we are running through temptations, when we're going through things in life, you know, we can have peace of mind that yeah, it's a problem now, but me figuring out this problem, being a problem solver, you know, is going to help me in the long run. It's going to help me develop that endurance. You know, it says, "In endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident of hope of salvation." Right, our confident hope of salvation. So as you keep going through these things, it's going to help build your character, right? So you can have the Goku character where you just get everything easy, or you can have the Vegeta character where you gotta train and go through some bullshit, get blown up, you know, but come back stronger. Always be on the same par with the guy who got it easy, but you getting it out of the mud. That's what this life is about. We have to get it out the mud because the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai is not gonna just give it to us easy. If this was easy, then everybody would do it. But to lay down your life for the Lord, that's not an easy thing to do. Or else the rich man would have did it in Matthew. I think Matthew was like 19. Don't quote me on that, but the it's hard for a rich man to get through to get to the kingdom of heaven harder than the camel through the needle of an eye. The camel through the needle of an eye. A camel through the eye of a needle. It says, "And this hope will not lead to disappointment, for we know how dearly the Most High loves us, because He has given us the Holy Spirit to fill our hearts with His love." Right. So the Most High ordained us prophets, from the birth. The Most High has a care for His elect. All right, from the foundation of the world. We just need to continue in the things that we've learned. All right, and use every hardship, every pebble in the road, all right, as a stepping stone to salvation. Hey, I'm one trial closer, one tribulation closer to the kingdom. You know, let's get to Sirach 34 and 9. It says, a man that has traveled knoweth many things, and he that have much experience will declare wisdom." If you've been some places, if you've done some things, then you can depart wisdom. You can tell somebody, hey, you know, back in my day, back in my day, which my day might be last week. Slovakia. But in my experience, I went out of town and I didn't pack enough. So next time I go out of town, I might have two or three extra outfits with me. You know, just a quick example. You can tell somebody that no, I'll be all right, and now you get out of town, and then you fuck around and get shipwrecked, and you got to stay a couple extra days, and you ain't got no clean underwear. Because you didn't take advice. But a man that it's not literally speaking about traveling or going on a trip. That's just a comparison that I had made. But it's just talking about going through some things. It's just like LeBron in year 21. He's traveled, right? He's gone through every situation that you can go through in an NBA game. So if you're a rookie and it's game one, and LeBron tells you, "Hey, Rook, you know, uh, watch the back door screen or watch the back door," and well, why this nigga gonna tell me to watch the back door? You know what I'm saying? I'm a good on-ball defender. But then you get beat with the backdoor screen and they win the game. You know, But hey, Rook, I told you to watch the backdoor screen because they run this play, been running this play for the past 7 years. But because you're a rookie, you don't know that. But because he traveled, he been here, he know that. So that's just a trivial example, but a good lesson nevertheless. It says he that have no experience knoweth little, but he that has traveled is full of prudence. When I traveled, I saw many things, and I understood more than I can express. I was oft times in danger of death, yet was I delivered because of these things. So, hey, having that experience can save your life. But going through these experiences and using it as fuel for the future, that's what it's about. The opportunity. Because, like I said, the Lord don't expect us to go 1,000 for 1,000, right? Even if you're a major league baseball player, if you hit 3 out of 10 times, you're an all-star. But if you're an NFL football player and you complete 3 out of 10 passes, you're probably not going to be in the league that long. So everything's not 1-1. So there's definitely a healthy balance. You gotta get in where you fit in, so to speak. So when you're going through these things and you fail, that's okay. What do? You pick yourself up. So going back to here, you say you trip over the barbed wire. You tripped over the barbed wire. Damn. All right, I ain't that ain't gonna happen again. Next time I come across this, I'm gonna get over this barbed wire. All right, so you start over, and you juke the weights, you miss the weights, and then you hop over the barbed wire. Yes, yes. Then you smacked by the crocodile. Fuck. All right, let's start over. Apparently, we're playing the game. Because if you get eaten by a crocodile, it's over for your ass. But all right, so after I jump over the barbed wire, I know I gotta duck this crocodile. You know, so bam, all right, juke the weights, bam, double jump over the barbed wire, jump over the crocodile, spat, hit the wall. Okay, so now so on and so forth, and you're not only just going through life, all willy nilly, but you're using your past experiences to give you a better outlook on the future. That's what it talks about when it's saying, you know, personal growth and building your character, yeah, character development. making you the best man that you can be, making you a leader in this truth. All right. If you're the last man in the camp, you're a leader. You may not feel like it. Who am I leading? I hold the signs at the camp. You're on that side of the gun line. If you're in this truth, hey, and you putting your how about Shem outside on your side or on your back, guess what? In the kingdom of heaven, you'll be a leader. So you got to learn the ways of leadership now. And the only way that you can learn the ways of leadership is, going through the steps, going through the motions. All right. Historically, leaders have always had their successors right there alongside of them. Hey, even in the world, if you want to speak about like niggas in the world, um, Bumpy Johnson, he was a big time drug dealer back in the 50s and 60s. His right hand man was Frank Lucas, and when Bumpy was past his time, Frank Lucas took over, and he was that man. Game of Thrones, you know, you have the king, and then you have the hand of the king. And if something happens to the hand of the king, of course, his heir is supposed to. So it's like something happens to the king, his heir would take over, but you have that hand to steady the kingdom. But a lot of times, you would have your heir alongside you. Well, let's look at the wall with Jon Snow. Jon Snow was Commander Mormont's steward. Right? He went with him with all his meetings. He was with him day in, day out, day in, day out. And he was grooming him to take over. So, hey, look, when I'm in these meetings, you see how I'm conducting myself. This is how you need to conduct yourself when you take over. You have to be, just learning the nuances, the ins and outs of the position. And the only way you can do it is OJT, on the job training. So he was giving Jon Snow on the job training before he needed to actually bear the weight. All right, let's get these last couple of precepts. This is Matthew 7:13. It says, enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. The road least traveled. If you're driving a car, you want to drive down this road or drive down this road? Right, of course you would drive down this road because it's the easy way. But man, we're speaking about personal development, and that shit don't come easy. Right, you got to go down the road less traveled. Always when they say the road less traveled, I always picture like a field, and most fields have like a game trail. Like in my backyard, I got dogs, so like there's like a sea of grass, in back there, but there's a path right down the middle of it where the dogs always walking. Where we go to, chain run to the tree or whatnot, and that's the road that's traveled. But you gotta cut through that traveled road. You can follow the road, follow that path, and you'll end up at the city. But if you go off that beaten path and just hit that straight line through that road less traveled, you get there quicker. But you might not get there quicker because it's a more difficult path. You got to actually get through the tall grass. It might be trees in your way, vines. You gotta get out the machete and cut through it like a jungle. But man, it's earning your keep, man. Fall in love with that. When something happens, all right, hey, it's like round one, fight. You know, the have that same urgency, like, oh, the Lord didn't drop me in a Street Fighter. You know, when you're trying to fast and that hunger pain sets in and you're struggling with yourself, round one, fight. When your coworker got a fat booty and she just all of a sudden just keep fucking talking to you today, round one, fight. This is the Lord giving us opportunities. This is the Lord testing us. All right. Send Keisha with the fat booty in there. All right. Tell her to nudge him on the leg. Tell her just to not shut the fuck up and to keep up conversation, asking personal questions while she got that big ass ring on her finger. These are the moments that are going to get us into the kingdom of heaven. Yeah, doing this work, that's a mighty work. I'm not trying to downplay that or at any cost. Hitting them highways, doing these lessons, that's a big part of getting to the kingdom of heaven. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that those moments of weakness, not of weakness, but of testing our strength or weakness, that's going to be, we'll push you over the threshold, man. Can you stand the rain? Can you overcome these moments? Because that's what your character is. Overcoming these, are you able to overcome these moments? So let's talk about Jonah, because Jonah had one of these moments. And Jonah chapter 1, verse 1, it says, "Now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for the wickedness has come up before me." But Jonah rose up to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord, and went down to Joppa, and he found a ship to go to Tarshish. So he paid the fare thereof, and went down into it to go with them unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. Right? So Jonah had a job to do, and he tried to run from it. Right? The Lord said, "Hey, look, you need to go to this finish line." But he asked him, you're going to go through some shit on the way. And he said, no. And he went the other way. We all know the story of Jonah being in the belly of the fish for, 3 days. But we know Jonah took his ass to Nineveh. And sometimes that'll happen to you. Sometimes, the Lord needs to kick your ass to get you back on, the straight and narrow path. But fall in love with this. Fall in love with these opportunities, and just recognize that they are opportunities for us to prove ourselves to the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai. So, Lord's will, this is edifying, and give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai Bahashem. Rakar giving double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutes and honors to the elect Akim across the four corners who are enduring in truth and sincerity of the men and women who follow. Shalom.